So software testing prevents this by ensuring that the final product is error-free, user-friendly, and reliable. So software testing plays a crucial role in ensuring that applications are not only functional but also meet user expectations. So it's a process that prevents errors, enhances user satisfaction, and strengthens a company's reputation. So today we will explore why software testing is such a vital skill in the tech industry and how it can open doors for a successful career. So we will explore different types of testing, best practices and tips on how to excel in this field. So without any further delay, I'm excited to introduce our panelist, Lina Francis Thorat. Lina is an associate consultant, assistant professor, and subject matter expert in software testing with over 8 years of experience in both academics and industry. She is currently pursuing a PhD in computer science and is certified master trainer in software testing. So, Lina's unique experience combines deep academic knowledge with practical industry insights, making her an ideal expert to help us explore today's topic. She is passionate about bridging the gap between research and real world application, and she is committed to advancing innovation in both the education and technology sectors. So, we are thrilled to have her with us today. So, welcome, Lina. The floor is yours. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Lynn. Thank you so much for a wonderful introduction from your end. And I'm so excited to conduct this session today. And so looking forward from everyone to have this interactive session and, getting some insights from sharing my insights as well as getting some insights from the other end as well. So yes, hello everyone. So again, my introduction is already done, but a quick brief about myself. So, my name is Lina Francis, and I'm thrilled to be here with you all today. And I have a background in software testing for 8 years, and during which I have had opportunities to work with well known organizations. And my passion lies in software testing. So, I am here to share love. So, I would love to share insights and engaging with others who are just as enthusiastic about this subject as I am. And today we'll be exploring the field of software testing, and I'm looking forward to an interactive session, as said. So please feel free to ask questions and share your thoughts along the way. So let's dive in and make this great experience together. So we start with our session now. So the very first thing that we are going to see is what are the objectives that we are going to look forward through this webinar. What are the things that we are going to look into or cater to, and how this session is going to be useful for you. This will be a brainstorming session for you all to think of software testing as your career. So what are the pointers that we are going to see today is, as you can see on the slide, we are going to talk about foundational understanding about software testing. So here we are going to gain a solid grasp of software testing. We're going to talk about its purpose, its role in software development lifecycle. We are going to explore key concepts and terminologies for a strong foundational knowledge. With that, we are going to talk about types of testing. So here we are going to discover various types of testing. We are going to talk about functional, non-functional, manual, and automated testing. And we're going to understand when and how to apply each type or each type based and the characteristics and the use cases used for this type of testing. We are also going to talk about importance of testing. Here we are going to learn why software testing is crucial for delivering high quality software. And we're going to discuss the risks of inadequate testing and the benefits it brings, such as improved user satisfaction and reduced cost. Also, we're going to talk about common tools that we are going to use. So we are going to familiarize yourselves with popular testing tools and frameworks that streamline the testing process. And we're going to outline we are going to review tools of automation. We are going to talk about performance testing. We are going to talk about bug tracking and many more. With that, we are going to also talk about testing life cycle, very important part. And here we're going to understand software testing life cycle. We're going to talk about its phases, and we're going to outline each phase significantly in contributing the overall testing process. We also are going to talk about practical knowledge and applying your learning through practical examples and case studies. And we're going to connect theory with practice to enhance your skills in real-time scenarios. So those are the objectives that we are going to look forward in today's session. So let's dig down into the topic. We move to our First pointer, that is importance of software testing. Why software testing is important? Why are we trying to cater to this topic today and trying to see what kind of career you can get out of it? So here we need to understand how software testing is important in the field of IT. So first is ensuring quality assurance. So when we say quality, it is the core of software testing, which aims to validate that the product meets specified requirements and perform as expected. We want quality products, we want quality software, right? And quality assurance helps to identify defects early in the development process. It also ensures that the final product is robust and reliable. So here, this is a proactive approach, we can say, which will minimize the risk of the software failures in production, which can be costlier to fix in the later process. So ensuring quality plays a very important role over here. With that, let's talk about cost efficiency. So when we say cost efficiency, investing in software testing may seem like an added expense, right? So, but it actually saves money in the long run. Identifying and fixing defects during the development is far less costly than addressing them after the product is released. So we can understand that, right? So when we are releasing the product, if there is any defect or any error or bug that has occurred, it would cost much more than if we try to fix it at the early stage itself. So when bugs go unnoticed, they can lead to significant financial loss. And not only from fixing the issues, but also from potential legal liabilities. There would be downtime. We can have loss of customer as we are not catering to a quality product to the customer. So it's very important that we cater to all these software bugs and defects at the very early stage of the software instead of the customer facing those issues. Also, we talk about enhancing user satisfaction. So here, user experience is very critical factor in success of any software application. So whenever we try to use any software as a consumer, as a user, we try to see that it is a quality software. And if user experiences defects or faults or bugs in the software when they're using it, that is not in good taste, right? So when software is well tested, it provides a seamless experience leading to higher user satisfaction, and satisfied users are more likely to remain loyal to our product. We all know, we also try to, when we use our softwares, if the software is giving us very good user experience, we try to be loyal to that particular software. And we also recommend it to others when we are using it, right? So again, directly it is affecting company's reputation and bottom line. So it is very important for us to test the software prior and give a quality user experience as and when we give the software to the customer or the consumer. With that, we also try to talk about mitigating risks or supporting compliances and standards, and we talk about improving performances and reliability. So all these are important factors that we need to consider when we are trying to perform, importance of software, when we are trying to consider importance of software testing, that why testing is important. Now let's move to our next pointer. Now that we have seen importance of software testing, we know why it is important. Let's try to understand in detail and start with the basics of what is software testing. We start with the definition of software testing. So as you can see on the screen as well, when we say software testing, it is a systematic process of evaluating and verifying that a software application or system meets specified requirements and functions as intended. Yes, we are trying to verify that the software is performing or is giving as the results as per its specified requirements. Whatever the user is asking, we are providing the same with quality factor. It is giving us the functions that are intended to perform. So it involves executing the software with the intent of identifying defects or bugs. Also, it is ensuring that the software behaves as expected under various conditions. So when we say software testing, we're not just focusing on bugs and errors and defects. We are talking about quality. We are talking about ensuring that the software performs the way it has to. And also, various factors or various conditions are also taken into consideration when we are trying to use the software. So, overall experience would be talking about software testing. We talk about the purpose of software testing. So, here, very first purpose of software testing, if I want to talk about, is validation and verification. It is very important. The primary purpose of software testing is to confirm that the software meets the requirements defined during the development process. So when we are into the software development process, when we gather the requirements, we have to see, or we have to confirm that whatever the requirements were given by the user, we are catering to it. We are giving the user those requirements, or we are fulfilling those requirements. So this involves both validating the end product against user needs and also verifying that the software adheres to the design specifications. So we have to see that whatever the user is asking for, we are catering to that. And also we are adhering to whatever the design specifications were required or were given by the user. So we have to see, we have to verify and validate both. This is the purpose of software testing. We cannot do that user has given some requirement and we make the product according to our understanding or our likeness. We cannot do that. We have to stick to what user is expecting. Yes, we can give some add-ons to the user, but we have to stick to what user is expecting. And for that, verification and validation is very important. We talk about defect identification. So this is one of the purpose of software testing. So when we say defect identification, testing helps uncover defect early in the development life cycle, and identifying and fixing these issues before deployment minimizes risks and cost. Early you find out the defects, early you find out the bugs, it would cost much more less than when the final product is out. So defect identification plays a very vital or important role when we talk about software testing. We also talk about enhancing quality. So software testing, as said, it's not just about finding defects and bugs, but also giving a quality product. User has a layer, user looks for quality product. And when we talk about software testing, we are talking about quality, ensuring we are giving quality product. So through testing, organizations can ensure high quality in their software products, and this will lead to great reliability, performance. There will be user satisfaction, which are crucial for maintaining a competitive edge, right? We talk about risk mitigation. Earlier, also in objectives, I mentioned this point about risk mitigation. So here, testing is very vital for identifying potential risks. Yes, a software would not only have bugs and defects, but there would be potential risks that can affect the software's execution, maybe in near future. Or there would be security aspects, vulnerabilities, there would be compliance issues, and performance bottlenecks. All of these are, risk mitigations. And here, by addressing this risk before the software is released, obviously organizations can protect the users and their assets as well. So we need to be very careful, because as we see, it is booming and we have softwares everywhere. Every tool that we use around is based on AI coming into picture, and we have IoT. All of these concepts, when we are using it, we need to see that it is bound to be having risk aspect with respect to security aspect, or your personal information being used. So risk mitigation plays a very vital role over there. With that, we talk about supporting continuous improvement. Software testing is not just about testing and giving the product, but there's a continuous improvement. If there are any chances or scope of making, the product better, our software testing process is going to help us to do that. So software testing is not just a one-time process, but it's an ongoing process. So this continuous testing without the development cycle fosters an environment on an ongoing improvement. So yes, leading to better software over times. So as said, software testing would help us to make our product much more better in the near future. So we see a lot of upgrades happening in our softwares, or updates coming up in our software. That is exactly what we do in testing. We try to understand or gauge users requirements, and based on that we try to make changes in our software or give a better product to the user. So all these talks about purpose of software testing. Okay, so we also talk about users confidence and satisfaction. This plays a very vital role. Now when we talk about softwares, it's not just building a software and giving it to the user, but there's user experience involved in it. User going towards that software, choosing the software, user is satisfied while using the software because his requirements are fulfilled by using the software. So here, user confidence and satisfaction, a well tested software would provide a seamless user experience, which is going to enhance our customers trust and their satisfaction. So again, satisfied users are more likely to remain loyal, right? Now we tend to be very loyal to the products that gives us quality and good user experience, and also we recommend it to others. So all these comes under the what you say, software testing. This is the purpose for which we perform software testing. So as and when I hear from students as well that when it is software testing, they have a very narrow mindset to understanding the concepts, but there is a lot more in this area to explore and to understand. So we are going to go ahead with the topics to understand it much more better. So let's move on to our next slide. Why testing is crucial. Now we saw objectives of software testing. We also saw the purpose of software testing. Now we are going to talk about why testing is going to be crucial for us. So the very first thing that you see is bug detection. Finding out bugs, defects, as said again and again. We are going to identify defects and bugs at the very early stage of our software development, reducing the risks of the post-release failures. Again, once the software is released and later on in the stages, if you find defects and bugs, it would cost much more than finding in the early stage. It's similar to your health, right? If you have early symptoms of sickness or illness and you try to take some medications at home remedies, it is much more better than to suffer and then go to the hospital, to the doctor after a few days to get yourself treated. It is going to cost you more medication, right? More risk to your health. It's similar way your software also. The more early you find the defects, the more better. We talk about user satisfaction, we talk about cost saving. So user satisfaction, as already said, user experience matters a lot. And when we perform testing, obviously we are going to enhance the software quality so that users are much more, they feel trusted and they feel credible to using that particular software. With that cost saving, yes, early the software is tested, the better. Fixing the problems in the early stages would cost lesser than in the later stages, and failures in the early stages would not impact the software so much as it would in the latter half. And we talk about quality assurance. So quality assurance, quality control are also very important and crucial terms in software testing. And when we say quality assurance, we are giving or maintaining those high standards in software quality, and we ensure that all the industry regulations, the standards are maintained and followed while delivering the software. So this is the reason why software testing is very crucial. With that, let's talk about types of testing. So many of you, when you hear software testing as a term, manual testing and automated testings are very common that you must have heard about, but we tend to not go into detail of understanding it. We know it very in layman terms that manual testing would be something done by human beings, right? Sitting there before computer and doing it, and automation would be something performed by machines. That is how we think of it, but that is not the case. We need to understand how manual testing and automation testing plays an important role in software testing. What is the difference between them and which is better, manual or automation? So let's try to understand this topic. We go one by one. We start with manual testing. So as you can see on the screen, I've put some pointers for you to understand. Again, very vast as concept, but as a webinar, there would be time limits, so I would not get into a lot of details, but yes, I would see to it that I cover all the important aspects that will help you to choose this as your future career. We talk about manual testing. So manual testing is the process of testing software applications by human testers who execute test cases without the use of automation tools. So for automation testing, we need automation tools. Again, when you perform it manually, you have human being performing the test cases, executing the test cases, and then checking whether the software is working as per the expected results or not. So testers manually would carry out the steps outlined in the test cases and then interacting with the software just as the end user. So just like I am using this particular application to interact with you all, I'm trying to manually click on buttons, click on, icons that are there so that I can share the screen or maybe, scroll through my pages. So how am I doing it? Manually. So manual testers basically work on the software just like end users, and then they try to find out if there are any problems or errors or bugs in the software when it is not working. Okay, so we talk about pros and cons. We talk about advantages of manual testing. There is flexibility in testing scenarios. Now, when we talk about testing scenarios, we take one particular hypothetical situation. Now, what a hypothetical situation? Suppose I see the screen. If I click on stop sharing, the screen that I'm sharing with you all should stop its sharing function. That is something that has to be performed. So this is a hypothetical situation where I'm trying to click on a button and see whether the function executes or not. So when I say hypothetical, as a user, I might click on the correct button or I might click on the incorrect button. Hypothetical situation. As a user, I would not know what to click, right? So if a user is clicking on the correct option, the functionality should work. If he is not clicking on the correct option, the functionality should not work. That is the expected result. So flexibility in choosing this test scenarios. As a tester, when I'm trying to test this, it is flexible for me to choose that I'll make test scenarios which are positive. Positive, just like the example that I gave, I want to click a button to stop sharing the screen. So I'll click the same button and see whether the functionality is working or not. I would not check the other way around. So I'll not keep on making different scenarios. I will just stick to the scenarios that I want to check, and having that flexibility that check the actual functionalities and perform the actions and check whether the application is performing the way it has to. So manual testing allows testers to adopt their approaches based on real-time observations. Real-time observation. When I'm using this particular applications, I'll try to experience how this application works. And based on that, I'll try to understand, okay, this functionality will do this functionality, sharing of putting my volume button up, or putting myself in mute, right? I just check the participants or check the chat box. All of these actions are real time observations. So I'll try to click and check how is the application working. So my test scenario, this gives me flexibility as a user. When I'm doing manual testing, it gives me flexibility to choose what I have to test. So this flexibility is particularly valuable in exploratory testing. Now, when I was giving you examples of testing this particular application, this type of testing is called exploratory testing. So I'm exploring the application. I'm trying to figure out how this application is working. I'm trying to understand what all options are there on the screen, what all options are helping me, what are their functionalities, how are they helping me to make my experience on this webinar much more better. Yeah, or while sharing this PPT, what all options I'm given so that my experience is much more better when I'm using the software. Exploratory testing. I am not guided by anyone as to do this set of steps and then perform it. No one is guiding me. I'm exploring the software myself. And testers can investigate unexpected areas of application. So here we tend to have that freedom to explore the software the way we want. No one is guiding us or giving us steps to perform it. Even if I perform something which is not expected, still I have that approach that, okay, check this, click this and check what happens. That is the flexibility that you get when you're performing manual testing. And with that, human observations can identify unexpected issues well. Yes, when we are performing manual testing, we have human presence over there. And human testers can use their intuitions and experiences to uncover issues. A machine cannot. Human beings, when they look at the software, they might figure out if there are any issues. They might figure out if there are any problems. Like suppose my audio is not working, I can figure out, okay, maybe there is a connection issue. Or if my video is not working, maybe I've not turned on the camera option. you know so human observations can identify things much more better than that of machines, or if you automate it. And they can notice usability concerns, interface issues, and other nuanced problems that require subjective judgment. So here, human being will be much more intuitive towards understanding the issues that are there with the software. Not every time the machine would understand. Okay, now we have AI used everywhere. It is being very what do you say, very positive impact on us to dig into much more insights of understanding things. But that doesn't neglect or negate the human presence. We still need human presence to perform things. We still need that human intuition or inquisitiveness to understand how the softwares are performed. So manual testing has its own advantages, and there would be also drawbacks for it. So let's try to understand drawbacks as well. So if we talk about Just a second. I just skipped the slide. Okay. So if we talk about cons or drawbacks of software testing, first is time consuming. Yes, we all know that if human beings are performing any task, it is going to be time consuming compared to machines, right? We take much more time to perform something. At times we get tired to perform something, right? So that is one of the cons that I can say, that it is time consuming. Performing something which is automated would be much more faster than human presence. If there is large task given, or the application is huge, or there is regression testing, that is something that has to be done again and again. Okay, so that can be tedious at times, and there, it would be time consuming, and human might miss out or lose their interest in performing if it is compared to a machine level testing. And if we talk about human errors, yes, human beings are prone to errors. We all know that we might make mistakes. A machine cannot. Machine would make mistakes only if human being who is using the machine makes mistake. So we are prone to human errors. And since manual testing relies on human beings or human execution, it is susceptible to mistakes. And testers may overlook some steps when they are performing testing, and that might lead into inconsistency in the results and potential missed defects. So when we say manual testing, we have its cons as well, that okay, these are the things that might affect the quality of the testing, and that's when our automation testing comes into picture. Whatever are the flaws or drawbacks of manual testing are covered up in automation testing. So let's move on to automation testing and understand what exactly is automation testing. So it's not that we have problems with manual testing or drawbacks with manual testing. That's why automation is something that we use. And that is the only thing that we can use, and skip manual completely. We cannot do that. Let's try to understand what automation testing does. So automated testing is again a process by using specialized tools to run tests automatically. So just now when I was giving examples in manual testing, that I want to test this software application, and when I'm trying to test it, what I'm trying to do over here is I'm going to use a testing tool, and I'm going to set certain test cases, and I'm going to let it run automatically. So all this execution will be done automatically. The testing, the clicking of buttons, the execution of functionalities would be checked automatically by that tool, okay, without human intervention. So this method will involve scripts. Now when I say without human intervention, it doesn't mean that we don't need human beings there. We write scripts for it to run automatically. So you are going to write code snippets, and they are going to execute automatically. So they're going to help you to work on that particular application to be tested automatically. So these are predefined scripts that you're going to write, and we're going to write our test cases prior. So here we are not going to check it as and when we are working on the software. We are going to write the test cases earlier and then execute it later. So again, this is going to help us to speed up the process of testing, and there would be consistency in testing the software. Why? Because machine softwares are involved in this. Machine is involved, so there's no chance of machine being tired or being bored of doing a tedious or regressive task. It will still perform with consistency. So that is one of the very positive aspect of automation testing. We also talk about positives of automation testing. Faster execution, again, if compared to manual. Obviously, automation testing is going to be much more faster, much more quicker. And once the scripts are all set up, test can run frequently. We can execute the same thing again and again without, reducing the time required for the regression testing or doing the repetitive task. Even if we have to perform the same thing 10,000 times, I want to check the same functionality maybe 1,000 times, it will still perform with consistency. It will still test it with consistency. With that, we talk about reusability of test scripts. Yes. So again, you're writing the scripts prior, so they are already saved. So whenever you want to test a similar kind of functionality, you will use the same script. You need not perform it manually. You will have to perform the task again, right? Suppose there's a screen where you have a login functionality. Now, when you say login functionality, what are the aspects in it? You have username, you have password, and you have login button. So you are going to put in the username, password, click on the login button. The same functionality is there on some other application as well. So here manually, if I have to perform, I'll have to put in the username, I'll have to put in the password, click on the login button, check whether it is working or not in manual testing. But when it it is an automation testing, I'll write a script for it, and I'll use the same script for different applications. So it is again saving reusability of the test scripts, saving my time, faster execution, right? And it is ideal for repetitive tasks. If you have to perform something repetitively, automation testing plays a very important role, because as human beings we tend to miss on to certain aspects. If something is done repetitively, we might miss our interest in it, we might not be consistent in producing the same result, but machine would not. So automation testing would be very idle when there are repetitive tasks to be performed. Again, if we talk about cons of automation testing, now not everything is rosy here. Here also we are going to have certain aspects which are going to be disappointing. So very first is initial setup time and cost. So setting up an automated testing requires an investment in tools. Now there are certain tools which are open source are free to use, and then there are certain tools which are going to be paid, right? You will have to invest money if you want to use those testing tools. So that is one of the drawback of it. Again, infrastructure would be required. If we want to perform testing, we have to build an environment for testing, automation testing, and there would be script development involved in it. So we would require manpower who are skilled in that aspect. With that, the initial cost and time commitment can be significant, especially for smaller projects and teams. Yes, so here time commitment or the team formation would also play a very important role in forming or performing automation testing. We would need manpower who is much more sound and much more well equipped with understanding, insight, and knowledge of automation testing tools. And it would require cost, it would require that initial setup time. With that, less effective for exploratory testing. Now, when we just now saw the concept of exploratory testing, where I'm just trying to explore the software, trying to figure out what is good, what is bad, what is working, what features are highlighting, what features are of no use, right? As a software, there would be some features which you use very prominently, and there are some features that you don't, functionalities you don't use. So exploratory testing can be performed manually, where you manually go and check each functionality. But when it comes to automation testing, you cannot perform, or it is not that effective to perform exploratory testing. So again, automation testing offers substantial benefits in terms of speed and efficiency. We all agree on that, by making the essential components of modern software development. But however, it is most effective when combined with manual to cover the quality assurance. So here we need to have a combination of both for us to get the best result out of it. We need to have manual testing and automation testing together so that we give best product out of it. We cannot just stick on to one of it just because there are some positives for one aspect of it. Just because automation is faster and easier to execute, or you can reuse it, we cannot just completely switch to automation. We need to have add-on of manual testing as well to give the best quality output out of that software. Next, if we try to see common testing types, you must have heard about this. If not, we are going to see what they are, but there are a few which you might have heard earlier. So let's dig down into those topics. The very first is unit testing. So when you say unit, it is a block of code. Okay, whenever you see a software, your software is built up with coding language, right? And those codes are written in blocks, or maybe a functionality that works that would be written in a code block. So we call it as a unit in technical terms. So when we are trying to test that unit or that functionality, we call it as unit testing. So we're basically testing the code, that is the code performing or executing the way it has to. So it involves testing individual components or modules of software application in isolation to verify its correctness. So we are going to see that whatever functionality that we are expecting from that unit, is it performing correctly or not? And each unit, such as function or a class. So if technically we talk about program, we have functions or we have classes, and those functions or classes are written in a format that it performs some functionality. So we test that functionality, we test that class. So that particular thing is called as unit testing, and unit testing is performed on code. Okay, coding. It's not so there are again types, functional and non-functional. So unit testing would fall into one of the aspect where we talk about the functionalities are performed or not. If we talk about goals of unit testing, so what can be goals of unit testing? our primary goal of unit testing is to identify bugs, or small at the smallest level, code level. When you look at the software, you're not seeing the exact software or the overall execution of the software. Now we are looking at the code, how the code is written for that software, and each functionality is written in chunks of classes or functions, and we're going to check that. So smallest of the function would be taken into consideration, and then we are going to check whether there are any bugs inside that software. So again, it is going to allow developers to catch issues at the early stages of development. When we are coding, that is the time we are finding our issues. So we're not waiting for the software to be developed completely and then find the errors. We're trying to find it at the initial stage only when we are developing the software. So this leads to cleaner code, and it will simplify a debugging process. It's when you're running the code, obviously it is going to give us a cleaner code, and the execution of the functionality would be much more better and of quality, rather than not testing the code. So unit testing is one of the very important or major factor. With that, we have integration testing. Now, when I talk about integration testing, it is a process of testing the components where the units that we had tested separately, now we are going to combine those components together. And now we are going to ensure that all the components when combined are working fine or not. So different functionalities coming together, and then we are checking all the functionalities are working, in sync or not. Again, this is going to help us to understand whether the software is giving the desired requirements that the user is expecting, and it will focus on the interaction between different modules when we are talking about component testing or integration testing. So various components, when they are combined together, they are going to interact with each other. Now suppose login as a page, when I put my username password, I click on login page, it takes me to the next page. So there are two functionalities that are being combined. It takes me to a home page, right? So there are two functionalities combined here. So when I'm doing integration, I'm checking whether after clicking on login button, am I taken to the home page or not? Okay, so that is integration testing. And if you look at the software, there are different components that are integrated one after the other, and they're executed in sync. That's when we call it as a whole software, right? All the components integrated together will form a system, and that whole system is tested. So if we talk about goal of integration testing, the main goal of integration testing is to detect interface defects between the modules. So when we have modules interacting with each other, is there any issue with that? Are the modules able to connect with each other, or are they able to uh, communicate with each other? So as I said, if I want to log in, I should enter the home page, but I'm not able to. If we take example of Amazon as a website, I'm buying a product. So when I click on buy product, it takes me to an interface that is payment. So are those components connecting to each other, right? So now there's an API which connects to the payment part. I do my payment with different, payment modes or options that are there, and I come back to the application again. So here components are interacting with each other. So that is integration testing. Various components connected together. So here we're going to see that whether these components are integrated correctly and interacting well or not. So this is going to help us to, prevent issues that may arise in the modules when they are interacting. So that is for integration testing. We talk about functional testing, checking the functionality of the software. So functional testing is a process of ensuring that the software performs its functions according to the specified requirement. So when I say specified requirement, user is going to tell me that, okay, this is how my software should be. This is what are my requirements. And when I'm trying to perform functional testing, I'm checking whether my software is performing as per users' requirements. Okay, so this type of testing will assess the system, whether the system does by verifying that all the features are performing well or not. Okay, so all the features, all the functionalities that are expected from the user, are they being working correctly or not? That is what I'm going to check in my functionality testing. And here my goal would be what? When I'm trying to perform functionality testing, that all the business requirements are met. So when we say business requirements, whenever we build a software, there is some business aspect to it, right? When we say requirements, there are some requirements of a software. These are business requirements of the software. Okay. And these requirements are met or not are checked in my functional testing. So it will check the application's behavior, and against the defined goals. There would be already predefined goals that, okay, this software should perform these tasks or these functionalities. Is my software doing that, whatever the requirements were expected? That is what I'm going to check in functionality. In functional testing, I will not be bothered with the code of that application, what programming language you have used, how have you built the code, what APIs you have used. I'm not going to be bothered with that. Here I'm just going to be checking that whether the functionalities are performing well or not, as per my expectations, or as per business requirements or user expectation. So testing that again is a very crucial part, and we see that in functional testing. And then there is one more that I've put up, which is UAT, user acceptance testing. Very important. Software, when we build it, developers are checking it, testers are checking it, everything is fine. But it doesn't work that way. We need to say that the user is satisfied with the product or the software. So yes, user acceptance testing is the final testing phase, which will ensure or validate that the software, the end user is, happy with the product. They are finding that all their requirements are met by the software. So this testing is going to ensure that the application meets users needs and is ready for production. And when we say production, is the actual deployment of the software. So when we see user acceptance, again there are two types. There is alpha testing and there is beta testing. When we say alpha testing, we or the testers or the developers, in-house testing happens where the ones who have built the software are the one to test it as a user. So they themselves think, they are end users, and they try to test the software. And when I say beta testing, you might see a lot of beta versions being, there on, if you explore Google Play Store or online, if you are looking for new softwares, you would find beta versions. Now, these beta versions are what they are actually performing user acceptance testing, where they are trying to perform testing based on users' feedback. So they are taking live feedback from user. They're performing the testing when it is a beta version, and then they are taking the feedback, making the changes in the software accordingly. So that is user acceptance testing. So again, if we talk about what are the goals here, so if we talk about the goals for user acceptance testing, we are trying to confirm the readiness of the software. So is the software ready to, put into the market or go live as per the user's perspective, and also accessing the quality of the software and the overall user experience. So the point that I was talking about, beta testing, it's about checking whether the user is happy with the software. How is the user's experience with the software? What are the changes required in the software as per the user? Right, so that is the main goal of user acceptance testing. And it is very important to perform all these testings that we have just now discussed. Very important, we cannot skip one testing or perform only one particular kind of a testing and say that the software is ready for deployment. No, we cannot do that. We have to take into consideration all aspects of testing and ensure that we are giving a quality product. And these are a few types of testing that are mentioned. There are many more. However, due to time constraints, these are the major ones that I have tried to put for your understanding. Next, if we try to move, brief mention about performance and security testing. So here I have tried to put in two more important types of testing, that is performance testing and security testing. Let's try to understand what are these testings. They are very important. Now when we are using a software, we don't like softwares which are running slow, which are less interactive, not much responsive. We don't prefer such software. Even when there is a little lag in a software, we get irritated, right? So performance plays a very important role. And then there is security aspect also. So let's try to understand. When we say performance testing, we are evaluating that the software's applications responsiveness, its speed, its stability, its scalability. These are the conditions that we check. How is the software performing under such conditions? And we tend to see, or we try to see, that this software would stand against all these odds. Because when a software performs in a certain way, which is lagging in its time, its speed, its execution, interactiveness, we tend to lose our interest using the software. So performance plays a very vital role. And it also determines how the system performs in terms of responsiveness and stability when the subjected workload increases. So when we say performance, now we take example of online shopping sites. Whenever there is a sale or a discount announced, the load on that particular software is much more, and the software or that particular application runs very slow during the days of those sale. So why is it so? Because the workload or the number of people using that software at that particular time increases, right? So here, when we talk about performance testing, we need to see, or we need to check, is that software sustaining that kind of a workload also? So there are different types of testing there. We have load testing, we have stress testing, we have volume testing. All this testing will help us to check whether our software or our application stands to the performance test or not, right? And again, if we talk about what will be the goals for performance testing, so it will check about expected result and stress conditions. Is the software sustaining to that? We talk about performance bottlenecks here, and what are the areas of improvement to make the software much more faster to work. We would ensure that the software can handle peak usage without degradation of the service. So that comes under performance. And if we talk security aspect, this is also one of the upcoming area that we have to be much more vigilant about when we are testing a software. So security plays a very important role, as nowadays softwares are trying to include a lot of personal information or detailed information about individuals. Whenever you try to install any new software, we see that they ask our personal informations to log into that application. Our phone numbers are expected, our personal IDs are accepted by the softwares. Or even the softwares might ask you certain permissions to access your location or your camera, right? So all these are areas which might affect the security aspect of using the software. So your softwares can be vulnerable to threats, and there would be risks involved in it. And we have to ensure that whenever we are using any software, our data is protected. Data is crucial, and personal data, especially when we try to use our bank details, when we try to give our personal details, it is very crucial to see that wherever whichever software we are using is trying to authenticate our data and not misuses, right? So there also the testing concept plays a very important role. So we have to see that our application protects our data and it maintains the functionality as well. It is we have to see that the application is performing its task, and also protecting or securing our data also, which is being used to work on that application. Next, if we move to the topic is overview of testing life cycle. Now we saw a lot about testing. We saw objectives, purpose. We saw different types of testing, manual, automation. We tried to see difference between the both. But now what we are going to see is how is testing performed? What are the different phases, or what is the starting point of or where, from where you have to start the testing and where you have to stop your testing. So there are certain phases defined, and we called it as software testing life cycle. And as you can see on the screen, there are different phases involved in software testing. So the very first phase that we have is requirement analysis. Then we go to test case development. We have requirement analysis, we have test planning, we have test case development, we have test execution, we have defect reporting, and we have test closure. Now, not running through it, but we are going to in detail see each pointer as to what all we perform in each phase, so that it becomes clear that when you choose as a testing career, which all phases or which all areas you can work in, or what all areas you have to give much more importance to when you are getting into testing as a career. So let's move into this. The very first phase that we have is requirement analysis. So when we say software testing life cycle, analyzing the requirement plays a very important role, right? So when we say requirement analysis, we try to understand what is to be tested. When we say what is to be tested, when we try to understand that, okay, this is the software and I want to test this application, I need to know what has to be tested. I cannot just start my testing. Okay, what areas are important, how much software has to be covered. So that is my requirement analysis. So here I'm going to have my key activities, which would be reviewing of documents. I'm going to analyze specifications, I'm going to understand business requirements. I'll identify essential features for testing, right? With that, I'll collaborate with the stakeholders. Stakeholders are the people who are involved with the software. Okay, so I would interact with them to understand what are their requirements, what are the areas to be tested, what things are to be clarified, what are the areas of ambiguity or confusions. I would try to take that in detail to decide my requirements for testing. Okay, when I'm doing requirement analysis, what is going to happen? I'm going to have a clear scope for testing. I'll not be blank as to what has to be tested. If you look at a software is a very huge area, right? And you cannot just start your testing randomly. When you do requirement analysis, it will cut down your research, it will cut down your scope of understanding what exactly has to be tested. So it will establish a well defined testing scope that will outline the features to be tested, acceptance criteria, prioritization. It will enhance the testing efficiency also when we are very clear as to what has to be tested. With that, the next part that we have is test planning. As you can see, we need to plan. Only gathering requirements will not work, right? Gathering requirements is going to help me to understand my scope. But after understanding my scope, I need to plan as to how I have to work, right? So I'll create my strategy for testing, and that strategy is going to ensure effective evaluation of the software. So here, when we talk about test planning, we are going to define our objectives, we are going to define our scope, our resources. Very important. When we plan our testing, we need to understand what kind of testing you're going to perform. We are going to understand the scope of our testing, the different types of testing that we saw. So we are going to decide which testing have to be done. If it is automation testing, we'll decide our tools. We would need resources to perform it, right? We are going to identify our testing types. And with that, we can establish timelines and responsibilities. Planning will help us to understand how much time would be required for testing a particular component, application, or system. And again, responsibilities. Who is going to take responsibility of what? We'll have to frame teams to perform testing. So planning will help us to strategize that. What will be the outcome of this? We will have a comprehensive test plan that provides a clear roadmap for testing processes, clear, and that is going to facilitate organized and efficient execution. When we have a planned outline of what we have to perform, it is going to make our process much more organized, much more effective and efficient. The next point, if we talk about, is test case development. Now, when I say test case development, we write test cases based on the software requirements to ensure our testing is performed thoroughly. Now, what is this test cases? When we decide that, okay, I want to perform unit testing on a particular component, now I'll write test cases as to what all testing has to be done for that particular functionality, right? So suppose login page is the functionality that I want to check. So I'll write test cases for that login functionality, that I put an correct password, correct username, correct password. I click on the login button. What is the output? Right? The expected output is what? The user should be able to log in. I'll check that whether it is performing or not. My second test case would be what? I put correct username but incorrect password and I click on login button. Now I'll check what is the output of it. Is it performing the functionality correctly? It should not be helping me to log in, right? So I'll check that whether it is performing or not. So here test cases would be built. On each functionality that I'm going to decide to work on, I'll build my test cases as to what testing I have to perform. So here when we are performing test cases, or when we are creating our test cases, there are various aspects that are considered. We try to have description about that particular test case. We would have steps that would be involved to perform that functionality or execute that test case. And we would have an expected result and an actual result for comparison, right? I'll perform that test case. I'll check whether my expected and actual results are working fine or not. So that comes in our test case development. And when we say test case development, there are a lot of other aspects also involved. Test case is the base level aspect that I'm talking about. We have test scenarios, we have test cases, we have stories. There are a lot of other aspects also involved when we talk about test case development. And best practices, if we talk about it, is going to give us very clear and comprehensive coverage of the requirement. And it is going to include both positive and negative scenarios. I just now gave an example of login page where my positive scenario would be what? When I'm trying to put the correct ID and password, and I click on the button login, I should be able to log in. This is a positive scenario, that what is expected is happening. My negative scenario would be what? I'm putting login in an user ID and password correctly. However, still it is giving me an error that I'm not able to log into the application. That is a negative scenario. Okay. So my test cases will help me to build that better. It will help me to work on both the conditions, positive as well as negative. What will be the outcomes for this? If we talk about test cases would be ready for execution. If my test cases are ready, I know what has to be performed. There would be systematic facilitation of execution of testing, and there would be effective testing happening, because already everything is pre-planned. I know what is expected to be tested. I'll read my test cases and I'll perform it. I'll check and evaluate the expected and actual results and give my verdict on that as a tester. Okay. We next talk about test execution. Now our test cases are ready. We already know what has to be tested, what are the steps to be taken in, what are the inputs that are to be put in for testing. We would require inputs also, right? When I'm using that username and password, I need inputs there. If I'm buying any product, I'm checking that functionality, I need to have those products there and I need to select those products. That is my input. So I'll have my inputs over there. Now, once my test case planning is done, my test cases are ready, I need to execute them, right? So I'm going to run those test cases. I'll read my test case, I'll perform it on that application, I'll check the result, and I'll evaluate it accordingly. That is my test case execution. Okay. So here you're going to execute each test, carry out as per the designed or test case. We're going to record our outcomes. We need to record the outcomes when we are performing that test case, because we need to verify it and validate our test cases. And then we have to also document our anomalies, whatever we have captured, expected and unexpected behavior of the software, any defects encountered, we have to document them for our future references, to rectify or work on that software in a better way, to correct that software if any defects or bugs are found. And this is going to help us to have a detailed execution report that will summarize the testing result. It will include the passing and failing statuses of the test cases and any identified issues. So here in this, we are going to understand that whether a test case has passed or it has failed. These are the terms that are used in testing. And with that, if there are any issues also would be, found out in test case execution, because we are actually performing test cases, and then we can take actions accordingly. Next, if we talk about after test execution, we have is defect reporting. Now here, when we say defect reporting, we are talking about actually when we are testing the software, we have found any error or defect, right? So we have got a summary after testing all the test cases, and after finding them, we are trying to escalate that particular defect or bug to a team so that they can rectify or work on it. So we are logging these issues which are found during testing. That is our defect reporting. We are not just going to test, find a defect and sit, right? We need to escalate it to a team who are going to work on it again, make the necessary changes, or work on that defect or bug, and then give us for evaluation. There we perform what we perform here is defect reporting. Here there should be clear documentation. It should include descriptive titles. It should talk about severity of that defect, how much that defect is impacting the software. Is it of high priority? Is it of low priority? And we have to give detailed steps to reduce the defect. And also we need to communicate the findings. Here we have to share the documented defects with the development team for further investigations and resolutions. As I said, just finding the defect and our work is done doesn't work. We have to escalate it to the right team or the correct team. Let the team work on it, get the corrected version, check it again whether the defect still exists, and then pass it forward. So here an organized defect list that helps to track issues and ensures our timely resolution would be done, and that would be the outcome for the defect reporting. The next slide, if we see, is test closure. So as we started our topic with software testing life cycle, we started with planning and analyzing and test cases, all of that. But we need to end our life cycle. We need to end that software testing cycle somewhere. So here the last phase that we talk about is defect closure. Not defect closure. We talk about test closure here. And here we summarize testing activities and results to evaluate our overall testing process. Here, the key activities that you are going to perform in test closure are analyze the results and the coverages. Yes, we are going to see and analyze what are the results, how much testing was done, how much software is covered in that testing. We have to document our lessons learned. When we try to perform testing, if there are any issues, errors, bugs captured, what all changes were made, which team worked on it, how was that defect eradicated, or how was the defect worked upon, or was there any substitute that was given up. All of this has to be documented so that next time if something like that happens to the software, we are well prepared, right? And then we have to provide final reports. This is again very important that we document everything so that for future references it is much more better when we are working with the software, right? So here we share a comprehensive report with the stakeholders where we summarize our findings and our recommendations. And again, now once a testing cycle is done, software testing life cycle is done, we move on to our next topic, that is introduction to testing tools. So again, we have seen automation testing, and somewhere I use the word automation tools, right? So here in this particular topic, we are going to talk about testing tools which are used in automation testing. What are they? How are they used? And how important or relevant it is to software testing. So let's dig into this topic. So here, testing tools plays a very crucial role in enhancing the software's testing process. Okay, so they are going to contribute in making the software testing process much more easier, smoother, effective. So when we automate, when we use this automation testing tools, they are going to first of all help us to automate, and second, streamline our testing process, right? So these testing tools are going to enable the automation of repetitive tasks. When are we going to choose automation testing tool? When the project is large and the task to be performed is repetitive. So we'll try to use automation tools, and this is going to help us to automate that. So when earlier in my previous slide, I spoke about regression testing, performing testing again and again on the same functionality, right? And performance testing, checking the performance of the application. Here also you have to redo the task again and again to check whether the functionality is performing or that software is performing as it is expected. So this not only will speed up the testing process, right, testing cycle, but it will also allow tester to focus on more complex scenarios. As a tester, instead of putting that time and energy into a repetitive task, we are going to automate that task by using automation tools. And as a tester, we can focus more on complex scenarios or complex issues, which requires human insight, where machines won't work or automation tools won't work. So by streamlining this process tools, it will help us to ensure that the testing is all consistent and we, repeatable. We can do or perform it again and again by using automation tools. It is going to improve accuracy and efficiency. So we all know that when machines are involved, it is going to be much more accurate, much more efficient than human beings. Human beings are prone to errors, right? So testing tools are going to execute thousands of test cases quickly and accurately. They are going to improve the overall test coverage, and this efficiency will ensure that the defects are identified earlier in the development cycle. So when we identify the defects in the earlier cycle itself, our cost is reducing, right? Instead of building the software and then checking for bugs, we are trying to find out the errors prior so that we fix it at the early stages itself. It also facilitates with better collaboration among the team members. So many testing tools come with features where they can promote collaborations. So when we say collaboration, there would be real-time reporting happening, there would be dashboards, and there would be integrated communication channels. And these features will allow team members. So Jira is one of the tool which will help all the team members to work on the same project, sharing all their insights, sharing the task progress, or addressing any critical issues promptly. So all of this will be done there. So here team collaboration works very well, more than you find it in manual testing. Here you have improved collaboration, which is again going to enhance your overall quality of the software, and again foster to a very cohesive team environment. People are working together on the same aspect, and everyone would be performing their task, and the progress would be seen there itself by everyone as to how is the testing being performed, and things are covered up. How our automation testing tools are going to help us? They are incorporating testing tools into the software development process. It will not only automate our or streamline our work, but it will improve our accuracy, it will improve our collaboration, and it will ultimately lead to higher quality product. The product that the software that we are going to build will be of higher, better quality and much more efficient than what we would perform manually. And if you talk about key benefits, they are going to increase our productivity. It is going to ensure accuracy. It is going to be comprehensive reporting. So all of that comes into our role of testing tools. So there are various testing tools that are available in the market. As I said, there would be some testing tools which are free source. So here you would not have to pay money. There would be some which are charged. You will have to pay some amount to use them. But we need to understand when to use automation testing tools, what area we need to choose automation testing tools, so that it can streamline our process much more better. Okay. The next part we talk about is benefits of using testing tools. So again, increased productivity, as said, enhanced accuracy, comprehensive reporting. I just now repeated those pointers where it is going to help us to make our product much more better, saving our time, saving our cost, and giving much more accuracy and efficiency. With that, if we talk about the popular testing tools for beginners, if you are looking forward to start your or enter into the field of testing, these are the tools that you need to look into or you need to know. These are very basic tools. Again, a free source, you can just open up these tools and have an exploration of how they work and what exactly these tools cater to. So one by one, let's see. There are different tools that I have put up on the slide, and each tool is performing something different. Each functionality is different. So let's try to understand each of this tool. The very first tool and very common and popular tool is Selenium. It is an open source tool, free source. Again, as I say, open source, that means you don't have to pay for the software. You can just go online, try to download the software and use it. Okay, download this tool and use it. So again, an open source automation tool. It is used for web applications, testing of web applications, and the Selenium allows user to write test scripts I was talking about, where you write code to execute the functionality for testing. And the scripts can be written in various programming languages. So we already know that there are various programming languages that are used for writing scripts. We have Java, we have Python, we have C Sharp, all these programming languages. So these scripts can be written in any of the languages that you are comfortable with. And for you can use Selenium to automate the testing of a login page by simulating users interaction, like entering the credentials. I'm using the example of login page a lot because that's the most common page that you see in the application. And performing it again, putting the username, putting the password, clicking on the button, it is something which is repetitive for me to check that application's functionality. So instead of doing that, what am I going to do? I'll automate that process. I'll write a script which will automatically put the username, automatically put the password, automatically click on the button. And this script can be reused for all other applications where login page is involved. So almost all applications have login, right? Login page design. You write one script and you can use the same script for all the applications to check the login page. So again, Selenium is one of the tools that is helping you to do that, to check your web pages. The second tool that I have put up is Postman tool. So again, it is a very popular API tool, application programming interface. For this, I'll give an example of when you're trying to shop online, maybe Amazon as a website, and when you're trying to pay, you click on the payment option and you get through an application to some other application. So you get into the payment application, you do your payments, and you come back to your original application. So this traveling from one application to and coming back to the same, there is an interface in between which is helping these two applications to communicate. That is your API. Okay, two different applications communicating with each other. If there is one more example, if I want to give, when you use YouTube, and if you want to share a particular video on WhatsApp, so you have the share button, you click on that, and it will take you to the WhatsApp interface. Now your YouTube and WhatsApp are both interacting with each other. How are they interacting? With the help of API. So this API need to be tested, right? That interface or that communication happening should also be checked. So we have our API testing tool, and Postman is one of it. And Postman provides a user-friendly interface for sending requests and analyzing responses. For instance, you can use Postman to test an API endpoints for retrieving users' data by sending a GET request and verifying a response against an expected result. So when certain records are to be sent, so there is this get request, and where you are going to send the particular data to a particular application. Just now when I said that if I'm using a YouTube channel, sorry, if I'm watching a YouTube video and I want to share that video, so when I click on the send button, I would see and I want to share the video on WhatsApp, I'll see all my contacts there. How is that interface happening? Because it is collecting data from the other application. That's when I see, my contact list, and then I can select one, choose one of the contacts, and I can share that video with the contact. So API works over here, and we need to test that. So for that, Postman is one of the tool that we can use. With that, the next tool that I have put up is Jira. Again, this is a project management tool. Okay, many of them use this for test case handling. However, Jira is a project management tool. Your overall project can be managed over here. We were talking about collaboration earlier in a slide, where all team members are working together on that particular component or application or project, you can say, and all the work that is done is being timed out or checked on one particular application. So we have project management tool, and here in Jira it is widely used for bug tracking and issue management. For example, when a bug is found during the testing, you can just create a new bug in the application, and you can detail the defects and the severity of the bug. What are the steps to be performed? You can just mention all of that, and it is going to help the development team to check, okay, this is the bug, these are the expectations, these are the severities that are there, and let's perform our work on it. So the developer who is looking at that particular defect would pick it up, make the changes. Again, he need not particular tester, particular bug or that issue, and the tester will pick up from there. Okay. And with that, we have test train. So when we say test train, it is a test management tool. Okay. So again, it will help us to organize and manage our test cases. So here in Jira, we were organizing or managing the whole project. Test trail is going to help us to organize our test cases. So it is going to help test cases and help us to track them, track the results. So you can create your test plans in test trail. So you just have that planner open for you. As a tester, you will pick up your test case, perform the testing, put the actual result that has occurred, do the evaluation, expected actual result, and give your verdict on that. So test trail plays a very important role. So again, here we are going to, it will help us to execute them by tracking the pass and fail. So whichever test cases have passed can be proceeded, whichever have failed will be passed on to the developer to rework on it and get it back, for testing. So that's one thing. Now, next that we have, so now these are a few of the tools that are there. Let me tell you, I have just put out 4 tools. There are many more tools and new latest tools there in the market. We need to be updated with them as well. But as a beginner, these are the few tools that you should be well aware of and you should know. Okay, so those are the ones that I have put over here. And the next thing that we are going to talk about is choosing the right tool. So we know there are different tools in the market. We know that there's automation testing that is going to help us with so and so things. But then how do we choose the tool? right? So here we need to consider a few terms to understand that which tool is right for us. So very first is project needs. So here we need to understand our specific requirements. Are we doing web-based testing, website testing? Are we doing mobile application testing? Are we doing API testing? So we just now saw two of the tools, right? Web-based testing, we can do Selenium. API testing, we have Postman, right? With that, we need to understand about team skill level. So yes, we would require skilled team members to work on tools. Not anyone can pick up a tool and start working. So here we would require a team who would be much more familiar with the tools to work on. And for that, it will cost. With that, we talk about integration, checking the compatibility with the existing tools and workflow. Now there are new tools that are coming up in market, new technological aspects that are implemented in our softwares. For us to check those functionalities also, we need to be well updated with the new tools available in the market, and compatibility of those tools with the previously used tools, the workflow, everything comes into picture. So we have to take that into consideration. We also talk about budget here. Again, as said, testing tools are going to be costly because there is manpower, skilled labor involved in it. There is environment setup that has to be done. Tools would cost, all of this would require a budget. So, evaluating cost effectiveness and licensing options are again a crucial part to be taken into consideration when we are choosing the tool. So we have to take these pointers into consideration when we are choosing our tool. We cannot just randomly pick up a tool for testing and perform our testing. No, all these things are to be taken into consideration. Okay. We talk about tips for selecting tools. So now, previously we saw that there are certain considerations that have to be done, but then there are certain tips also that we can perform to select the right tool. The very first is conducting research. So getting reviews, or users feedbacks, perform checking out case studies. Research will help us to understand better as to which tool would perform much more better and effective to perform that testing. So that one thing can be done or taken as a tip for selecting the tool, which is much more better and efficient, which is less costing. Any new tool update in the market that can help us to better take up or pick up a tool. We can use trial versions, so we can use free trial versions that is not going to cost us more, right? So you can online go and check. There are many developers who are coming up with different tools that will help us to make our work much more easy without costing much. So you can access those free trial tools. And then training and support. So again, consider tools that are offer good documentation and good customer support. If we are trying to use a tool, and if there are any issues with the tool, we need to see to it that we get good support from the team, and there is good documentation so that we can refer to whenever we face challenges or issues while using the tool. So that has to be one major considerations when we are trying to select a tool for our testing. Now we talk about importance of clear requirements. So here, well-defined requirements plays a very important and crucial role. Now, suppose when requirements are not clear, they are ambiguous or vague requirements are given by the user himself or herself is not aware of what they are exactly looking for in a software. The developer would not understand, the requirement analyst would not understand, the tester would also not understand what is the software and what has to be tested. So here, clear and well defined requirement plays a very important role. It plays important role in SDLC as well as in STLC, right? Software development also, we have to be very clear with requirements, and while testing also we have to be very clear there. So clarity will help us to reduce ambiguity in testing, confusions, right? Being in a confusing state of mind, not understanding where to start from, how much to test. There's one more point that is very important, that you cannot perform 100% testing, right? You cannot say software is 100% bug free or defect free. You cannot say that. A software cannot be tested 100%. When we say that, there would be some or the other functionality that might be missed, or that error or defect might not arise at the initial stage, but after it is implemented or deployed to the user, that's when the error might come. So again here, clarity is very important for us to be what do you say, well defined with the requirements will help us to perform our task smoother and efficiently. There should be focus again. When we say focus, we are talking about test cases that are aligned with the business requirements. We pick up our software and start testing, everything doesn't work. There would be thousands and lakhs of test cases that can come up when you're testing a software. There would be the count would be immeasurable if you're trying to pick up test cases tested. But we cannot do that. There is a time limit for testing, there is cost involved in testing, there are people, manpower involved in testing. Here we need to be very clear that as to what is our business requirement or objective, and we have to stick to that when we are testing our software, right? So this is the requirement, I have to test whether the requirements are met or not. That is my well defined requirement. With that, efficiency. Now when I say efficiency, minimize rework and save time during the testing. Here when we talk about well defined requirements, if my requirements are clear, I would be very clear with my work, what has to be done, what is the functionality, what has to be tested. It is going to minimize my reworking, or if we don't understand a particular concept, we have to go back and rework on it. So that would be minimized if we're very clear with our ideas. It is going to save our time during testing. So when requirements are well defined, all these things are going to help us to perform our testing much more better, much more efficient, right? There's one more thing that we need to be very clear about is writing effective test cases. So we saw that requirements should be clear. Now, once the requirements are clear, our test cases should also be very clear and precise, right? We cannot vaguely write our test cases for the tester to understand something and perform the testing. We cannot do that. We have to be very clear. So when we are writing our test cases, they are supposed to be very, very simple and clear language. You cannot use language that is confusing or misunderstood. You cannot do that. You have to write your test cases in very simple and clear languages. So if you happen to, check test case examples, you will see that the clarity of those test cases are very simple, or the way test cases are written are very simple and clear. You cannot twist words over there, or use language that is misguiding. And then we have to keep conscience. So here you keep test cases brief but informative. uh, we have to see that our test cases are brief in nature, but they should cater to the functionality. They should clearly mention what has to be done. We cannot just mention in a short line of text where the requirements are not clear. We cannot do that. Test cases have to be small or brief, but they have to be very clear. The requirements have to be very clear. With that, comprehensiveness is one more thing that we take care of, where you have to cover all the functionalities. When we are testing, we cannot pick up functionalities and check it. We cannot do that in software. We have to check thoroughly all the important functionalities that were expected by the user, by the business requirements. We have to perform that. And if we talk about structure of the test case, these are the things that you can see. That is test ID. You will have description, you will have steps, you will have expected and actual results, you will have prerequisites. There's a template for test case, and that template includes all of this. So we need to see that our template is clear, crisp, and all the structure, what do you say, um, things are included while we are maintaining our test cases. So these helps us to make our test case much more better. And when people are working on that test case as testers, we would be much more clear to perform it because our test cases are written clearly. So these are the tips that we need to, take into consideration when we are writing our test cases as well. With that, regular communication is very important for us to perform well, for us to give effective, what do you say, output or quality product out. Communication is very important. Communication will help us to bridge the gap between the, what you say, unachieved expectations. So here we have to see that collaboration happens between team members, stakeholders. So we have to see that so that the communication will help us to foster a better because these are the together developer. So testers and developers go hand in hand. They have to foster an open dialogue culture over there. They have to see that they are well communicating their issues and defects that have occurred so that they can work well. With that, sharing of insights and feedbacks throughout the development cycle is also very important because that will help to improve the process. We talk about the benefits of it when we say communication, identifying issues early. When we communicate, identifying issues become much more easy at the early stages. And also, it is going to enhance when our requirements, our expectations are clear. Our quality of the product would be also much more better. Our software would be much more of quality, and user would be much more satisfied with the product, end product that we are giving them. So aspects of software testing, there is much more. The testing area is quite wide. If you are interested in it, you should testing is. I've tried to cover up all the important pointers. So now, if there are any questions regarding that, just your questions, so we can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Lina. Thank you so much, Lina, for that insightful session. So we have just covered some great insights from Lina. So now it's time to open the floor for questions. We have received so many questions in our chat box and we will address them as we go. So before that, I would like to take a moment to share some information about UniAthena. So that I would like to invite my co-host Neha Montel. So Neha, over to you.
Yes. Hi, Lynn. And
Yeah.
thank you, Lena. That was a wonderful session. I will ask Lena, could you please stop sharing so that I can start sharing? Yeah. Is it all right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Before I start, I will like to call Mr. Mohammed Karama. He is our one of our learners who is present at the webinar, and he wants to share his experience. If he is here, could you please unmute yourself and show your video and share your experience, Mr. Mohammed? Okay. Uh, I think he's facing some issues with the connection. So I will take few minutes of your time to let you know informations about UniAthena. So at UniAthena, we believe in flexible, affordable, and accessible learning, and we provide a self-placed, flexible education and a complete online courses. Over 3 million global learners are already upskilling themselves with UniAthena. And if you are an IT and computing department and if you're interested in IT, you are going to love this next project. Building upon what we just have discussed on our webinar, these are the few top courses that we're providing. First is MBA in AI in business. We provide certificate in these courses. If you apply, you will get certificate in MBA in AI business, postgraduate diploma in AI business, and certified manager certificate. We provide awarding body. Our awarding body is of Ministry of Education, Italy, and this is a complete online courses with 60 credit ECTS. And we can also have 7 days free trial for these courses. And our partners body is Unimacroni University, Cambridge International University, and Chartered Manager Institute. Next top courses is MBA in Information Technology. It also has 60 credit ECTS, and the certification you will get from this is MBA in Information Technology, postgraduate diploma in Information Technology, and certified manager certificate. This is also awarded body is Ministry of Education Italy, and this courses is also online, 100% online, and you will get 7 days free trial for this course as well. And our partners body for this course is UniMacroni. Then we have Cambridge International Qualification and Chartered Management Institution for the partners body. Next, let's learn about UniAthena. So UniAthena is an edutech organization offering online free learning courses, upskilling courses at an affordable manner. And it was founded in 2019 by Westford Ventures or Westford Education Group, which operating since 2008 in higher education. We have already 3 million plus learners, and we provide 600 plus courses over 146 countries, and we have partners bodies are more than 10 very important and very good partners body. So few of our partners and accredited accreditations are Alberta University, Macquarie University, UCAM University, Cambridge International University, Chartered Management Institute, SQA University, Federation of Education in Europe, UE, Euro Business School, and Asia University, Arizona. Next, why UniAthena? So in UniAthena, you can have a flexible payment option. So as you read in the course, as you build in the course, you pay as you study. Then we have, as you have already mentioned, our global body or our accredited partners are very reputed and highly attended. Their certificates are valued over the world. Next, we provide 100% online courses, video tutorials, reading materials, and workshops. And if you are opting for these courses, our courses, then we will provide you a personal tutor who will guide you throughout these online courses for any issues that you will have. We also have self-paced duration as you learn at your own pace, and it will help you to simultaneously go with your career and your upskilling. And our courses are module based, and we will share some. These are our learners who have shared how they were how our courses help them. We have Michael Manu, and he has told us how our modular assignment was practical based and it helped him a lot. He did his masters in data science with us. Then we have Jai Po. He's from Singapore and he did his business masters administration in blockchain with us, and he said that our courses are so flexible that it was very helpful for him to continue his work and his education together. And as we are talking, we have Mohammed, and he is also our learner. He will share his experience with us. Mohammed, please share your experience with you. Yes, Mohammed, please. Uh, I'm sorry, we can't hear you. I think you have some audio problem. Maybe you can try with your laptop without your headphone, maybe.
Okay.
Audio.
Hope the signal is
Yes, yes, you now you can hear.
Perfect.
okay. Sorry everyone for the breaking of internet. I'm Mohamed Kamara, CEO and founder of Prestech Innovation. It is an honor for me to be here as an ambassador for UniAthena. It is a great opportunity for me to be here. And in my past few years of my working experience, I got in contact with this great institution, great platform that is ready to give all its support to everyone who wants to be in that top in terms of what we call self growth in education. And UniAthena is there to give us all its strength and its support. It is a great opportunity.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. You wanna share more? Uh, okay, so now Lynn will take up with the Q&A session with Miss Lina.
So thank you, Mohammed. Thank you for joining us today and to share your experience with us. And also thank you, Neha, for sharing some information about UniAthena. So I would like to inform you all that you will get a free participation certificate if you stay until this session ends. So Lina, are you ready?
Yes.
Yeah. Shall we go with our Q&A session? Yeah. So first question is, can you please share the tools that
Yes,
are
we can go
most
ahead.
popular? Yeah, yeah. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, sure. So can you please share the tools that are most popular for automated testing and can you make some example? Hi, Lina.
Selenium was used for.
Sorry, we can't
Am I
hear
audible?
you. Yeah, now you are audible. Yeah.
We already discussed about automation testing tools. There were a few examples that we discussed, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
One of it was Selenium, which is used for web-based testing, web application testing. The second tool that I spoke about was Postman tool, which was used for API testing. One of the question I did, look for in the chat, that is, what is API testing? So the full form of API is Application Programming Interface. And when two applications are communicating with each other, we are trying to test that whether this communication is working smoothly or not. So for that, we have a testing tool called as Postman, which is again an open source tool. Then we spoke about TestRail. Again, maintaining test cases. We would have a tool which will help us to maintain our test cases much more efficiently so that testers can pick up test cases and, smoothly work upon it. And one more tool that we saw was Jira. It was a project management tool where our overall project would be managed. Jira tool is also used for bug tracking. So testers, developers, everyone would be involved, collaboratively working on the project to find out defects and bugs and, maintain test cases.
Okay. Thank you, Lina. So the next question is very interesting question. So that is, can we say that manual testing is entirely controlled by humans? Will you still create a test for automation?
Again, manual testing, as I said, we require human intervention over there. They are the ones to decide the test scenarios, decide on the test cases, and perform the test cases manually, perform all the execution manually. And there would be certain areas where you have to repetitively work on a certain test case, which would be much more tedious for human beings to perform, right? They might not be that effective or efficient. So for that, we would switch to automation testing. So we need to take a look at it, that when we are performing manual testing, what kind of testing is it? Regression testing? Is it a testing that we have to repetitively do, or is it testing which is very tedious, which is worked on a larger scale? We would switch to automation testing there. So it all depends on the project that we are working on, or the component that we are working on.
Okay. So thank you. Then the third question is, how often could manual testing be done?
Uh, Again, whenever we choose our testing, we have to decide on what areas we are working on. We just don't follow up that we are going to perform manual or we are going to perform automation. We need to understand what project we are working on, what are the business requirements of it, what functionalities are to be tested. Based on that, we will decide whether to go for manual testing or automation testing. Small scale projects or smaller functionalities, not that complex in nature, we can go for manual testing there. So whenever there is complexity involved, whenever there is retesting or regression testing involved, we'll switch to automation. Complex processes, we would definitely switch to automation testing.
So the fourth question is very good question. So that is, during a project, who is the responsible stakeholder that needs to write test case scenarios?
So testers are the ones who are working on test scenarios. We have a team of people who are working. So when we cannot completely say that there are types of testers as well. So we have white box testing, black box testing. This was not covered in the webinar though. But then there are people who are well aware of the development process as well, and they're well aware of the testing process as well. So these are the people who would be working on the test case scenarios. They're going to define the test cases, and based on the test cases, we are going to decide whether it is manual and or automation. So based on that, we will have a team again to work on those test cases. So if those test cases are something which are to be performed manually, the team that would be working on that would not be much more aware of the coding aspects or the internal working of the software. However, when it is automation testing, the person or the team has to be very well aware of the coding aspects. We already saw that we write scripts for automation testing, and those scripts are written in different programming languages. So we need to be well aware of those programming language. So again, when it comes to who are going to work on the test scenarios or test cases, it depends on what kind of testing we are going to do. So if it is automation testing, then we would require people who are well aware of automation testing. If it is manual testing, then we would require people who are well aware of manual testing.
Okay, so the last question is very simple one. What is the difference between automation and manual testing?
Yeah, so already discussed again and again in this session, but still I'll repeat it on. Manual testing is where we have human intervention happening, where human being would sit there before the software, perform all the functionality, check whether it is working or not. And suppose the task that we are going to test is going to be something that is repetitive, that is complex, that is something which is regressive, we would perform automation testing. So it is going to be a combination. For us to get the best results out of it, we have to combine both the aspects, manual and automation together, and then get the most out of it when we are performing testing.
Yeah, okay. So I think we have received one more question. So that is it necessary to always go through all the common testing types discussed in the presentation? That is unit testing, integration testing, functional testing, and user acceptance testing.
Yes, so when we were talking about STLC, software testing life cycle, the very first phase that we talk about is requirement analysis. So we are going to gather the requirement to understand what kind of testing is expected. Now, how are you going to find it out? Based on the business requirements. So if the business requirement talks about, catering to the functionality aspects more, that is of a priority, we would perform that kind of testing, functionality testing or functional testing more. If the business requirement is talking about performance based aspect or security based aspect, we would perform that more.
Okay, Lina.
But
So see, I
we need to see that overall testing, thorough testing has to be done to get a good quality.
okay. So as I told, it was the last question. One more question. See, I felt that this is very interesting
Okay.
because see, the question is, what does the future of manual texting look like with AI integration?
Yes, this is the question that is very oftenly asked by students to me, that will manual testing, be erased and we'll completely switch to automation testing. During our session also, I catered to this topic that we would require human inquisitiveness whenever we are working on softwares. Not everything can be done by machine. There would be areas when we are testing where human understanding, human intervention, human inquisitiveness would be very important, and machine cannot replace that. So manual testing cannot be completely taken over by automation or AI. We would still need human being to perform testing. So that is one area where I proudly boast about that. We say that development might be an area that can be overpowered by AI, where AI is doing everything for you coding, but testing cannot be done that way. You would need human beings to perform testing. Not everything can be automated.
Yeah, definitely. Machines can't replace humans, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Lina. So thank you so much for answering all the questions. So yeah.
Lynn,
So as we
yeah,
come to the
so
yeah,
everybody is asking about the certification. So how to
yeah,
get them?
okay, you.
So you
Mm-hmm.
could just so everybody, once this webinar is end, there will be email will be sent to your mail ID, and where you have to put your credentials. After you put your credential and put the submit link, you will be getting your certificate along with the YouTube link and other links. Thank you so much. I hope this helped.
Yeah, yes, sure. So, as we come to the end of this webinar, I would like to extend a big thanks to you, Lina, for sharing her expertise and experience with us. And it's been a really informative session. And we hope you all gained valuable insights into software testing and its importance in the tech industry. So, to everyone who joined us today, thank you for your participation and thoughtful question. So we hope this session has provided a good starting point for anyone considering a career in software testing. So once again, thank you, Lina, and thanks to all of you for attending. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, Lian, and thank you so much for this wonderful audience. Thank you all.